Smart meter fires, burning questions, critical errors, and deadly consequences. If you're looking for the truth about smart meter fires, this is the video for you. If you thought you knew everything about smart meter fires, we're going to get you some new information from some court documents, from some industry documents that they don't want you to see, and information from some whistleblowers who have contacted the team at Take Back Your Power that's going to let you know this problem is a lot worse than you might think. Let's get right to it. First, high voltage surges. Obvious a problem in any situation, but in particular with smart and digital meters. What causes these surges? Someone can be running into a utility pole, lightning strikes a pole, a tree falls on a power line. There's a multitude of issues. Bottom line, these happen a lot. As you can see here in Stockton, California, power surge blowing up the smart meters. You can see all the pictures of that. And you're going to see a common theme, a large pop, like a bomb going off, a big bang happening. Same thing here in Ontario, blew out in a power surge, blowing off the houses completely, 60 to 70 at a time. Same thing, different place, Capitola, California, as you can see here, as evidenced by the meters sitting on the ground there. Damaged appliance, this time in Capitola. But we have another common theme. We have the issue in Palo Alto, California, where this time 80 smart meters, digital meters, had issues, blown off the sides of houses, burned up, but nothing happened to the analog meters. So is there a reason why? Yes, indeed, there is. First, let's start with the backplate. What is a backplate? This is the spot on the smart meter or an analog meter that connects to your meter base. In the old days, you used to have a metal, alloy, or bakelite backplate. Smart meter manufacturers switched to plastic. We are unsure as to why they would do something like this, but usually when something like this happens, it goes down to profit. So bakelite, a little bit more expensive, plastic quite a bit cheaper, so that's either going to make more profit for the meter maker or shave down the cost for the utility. Either way, it's a very bad idea. But what else is going on? We have a critical difference that's happening. On our old analog meters, you used to have surge arresters on there. Smart meters don't. This is a critical difference and a huge error on smart meter manufacturing. Why does this matter? Well, in the old days, as evidenced by the blue lines there, you have the surge coming in, it would go down to the meter base is grounded by the surge arresters on the meter, and the path of least resistance would take that surge to ground. Now, you don't have that on the meters. So, they either blow the meters off the side of the house, or damage your appliances, or, of course, both. So, we have another situation, Summerlin, BC, this time 60 meters. And we have a common refrain, the huge bang the homeowners reported, but we also have the utility saying, well, that's the homeowner's problem. And another situation here. What do we have? We have the BC Safety Authority saying, we just want to make sure your grid integrity is all good, so you're going to have to pay $600 a meter for an electrician to come and check this out. So the meter maker takes off the surge arresters, the utility buys that meter, installs that meter, this happens, but the homeowner, of course, has to pay. Now we wonder, if the Safety Authority was so concerned about the integrity of the grid, why are they letting on meters that don't have surge arresters on them and causing this problem in the first place? Very interesting. Remote disconnect. Another huge problem. Nobody understands why they would put this inside a smart meter. What is remote disconnect? So, you're not paying your utility bill. The utility wants to cut off your power. They send a signal from their smart grid infrastructure into your smart meter, and they basically shut down your power. In here we can see a picture of some of the components in the Itron meter, which is very heavily used. And of course, they talk about their meters being reliable and accurate and all kinds of good stuff. So what's happening? This function inside the meter allows the utility, who in the old days used to go around and have a guy come to your pole and cut the power. Now they are causing arcing inside your meter on purpose to save costs for the utilities. So what this means is, you got your stove or your air conditioner on, they generate a separation, they generate a gap inside the meter, and that causes an arcing at extremely high temperatures inside that meter. So you can see how that can happen by the demonstration on the screen there. Why on earth they would do this is puzzling. And you can see what else can happen is the high velocity in excess of 700 miles an hour can happen. So this is obviously a bad idea right from the beginning, but they are doing it. So some utilities have finally caught on. They're saying, well, we want to get rid of this remote disconnect function, just want to make sure nothing happens with it because it can obviously cause fires with the remote service interruption feature. And of course, if it's a bad thing, they just call it a next generation meter instead of a smart meter. And if it's a good thing, it's obviously a smart meter. Here you can see trigger electrical arcing, obviously something you do not want to have happen in your smart meter. Sparking a fire. And now that this risk is eliminated from disabling this function, everything is okay. So you might want to ask yourself, what's your utility doing? And again, why are people like the BC Safety Authority even allowing this to go in the meters in the first place? So everywhere else in North America, this is happening. You better think about what's going on at your house. What about your neighbor's house? Because that's a concern. They have propane lines. They have all kinds of stuff, issues inside the meters. And we have the court documents from Texas talking about this, which we will see later, about the remote disconnect issues with meters melting or burning up. Now, huge problem. Of course, this remote disconnect was a huge selling feature for the meter makers to get these into the hands of the utilities. And the utilities, of course, told the ratepayers that this is going to be fantastic. It's going to save everybody money on their rates and so on. And what's happening? We have the potentiality that hackers could hack into the public utilities and the meters. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, what if they decided 5, 10, 20, 100,000 meters at a time? They're just going to set off that remote disconnect. We have a huge problem on our hands. Analog meters solve all those problems. Installation under load, installers damaging bases. Now, of course, one of the huge issues with this is the fact that in most jurisdictions, installers were getting paid speed commissions and bonuses for as fast as they could go installing the meters. So nobody cares about your base. Let's just get those meters rammed on so we can do what? Start collecting billions and trillions of dollars worth of data. Obviously, a logistical nightmare to have all these people home to get their power off and everything checked out correctly. So they just went ahead anyway and started ramming this stuff on people's meter bases. So what happens? Normally on the left-hand side, you can see there, everything's okay. On the right-hand side, near the bottom, this happened on Vancouver Island. Installer came in, damaged the base, creates an arcing because you have that separation, and what do you get? You get an electrical fire at the meter base, which of course is the homeowner's fault, even though they're never allowed to touch their base. And now we have also the arcing issue with installing under load, similar to the remote disconnect, where if you have some appliances on, a large draw device, you're going to generate some arcing from these types of installations. So our other issue as well is metal or glass meters with the bakelite and the glass, or plastic and flammable, as in the plastic has a lower flash point or melting point than metal. You can take a look here from some thermal imaging pictures of exactly how hot it could actually get from a bad connection, which is likely going on in millions of smart meters across North America and the globe. Same here, bad connection creates very high temperatures, plastic meters. And now we have more arcing issues. So the electrical arcing of smart meters. We have overheating meters and the installers confessing, yeah, it was causing some fires. Now, very critical thing here, court documents talking about the truth. What has been going on out in the field? They're telling us increased in burned lugs during the deployment of smart meters. Technicians talking about burned lugs since respondents' deployment of meters. They also admitted having seen burned meters that were sent to the meter shop. But what else did they report? Our common theme that we saw from earlier. They didn't have this problem before with the analog meters, but it's just with the smart meters. These things are damaging customers' homes. Now, we've had other whistleblowers in other jurisdictions telling us about meters coming back to the shop on a constant basis, having these issues. We also had them warning their higher-ups, their supervisors, guys, what are you doing? What is the bakelite being taken off for? What's going on with the surge arresters? Why is that gone? What's the deal with the thinner blades? Why are these meters burning up? And here we have that issue of the thinner blades, which again causes arcing. Loose connection causing heat, which causes arc, which results in 2 pallets of burned up meters at this specific meter shop, which confirms the information that we've gotten from some whistleblowers. Arc flashes, burn customers' wiring, and create hazardous conditioning. Now, again, this is going to be blamed on the homeowner, but these thinner blades are causing arcing. As you can see here, again, very similar to the remote disconnect, very similar to a bad installation. And we can see a loose connection, burning up in the jaws, burning, obviously nothing you want to hear, but most importantly at that very critical spot on your grid. And of course them talking about, again, the remote disconnect, having an issue inside the smart meters. It'll burn those jaws up, they say. A couple examples there. Now, this is an industry document generated by a company called Landis & Gyr, which has their nice slogan of Manage Energy Better. So they start talking about if you keep repeatedly taking meters off and on and jamming them in and having these unqualified installers going around, well, of course, it's going to create a higher incidence of what they call hot socket. Not burn, not fire, hot socket. So that's a nice term, generating micro-arcing conditions, and these effects are cumulative over time. So you could have those going on behind your meter right now. Now, listen to what they say. We want to help utilities discuss hot socket concerns with local fire departments and answer media inquiries. Do not provide this document directly to the public because they should never know about these pallets of burned up meters. And as you can see, the damage that is caused right there. Thinner blades, bad installation, who knows? Maybe all of the above. So what do we have? We have the utilities telling us that meters are more susceptible to electric overloads. And of course, we have the meter makers saying they are doing some bad installations. So which is it? Well, of course, it's actually both. But both of which, of course, are your fault. They are admitting they're doing this and at the same time turning around saying it's your fault. There's never been a smart meter fire. So, obviously, one source of arcing is a terrible situation. But we actually have 4 potential sources of arcing that generates heat, which ultimately causes fire. These are the fundamental laws of electricity, and they are being violated on a daily basis. And our result is, of course, fires. So if we're going to talk about all this stuff, the remote disconnect and the surge arresters being removed, all that, surely we have some examples from around the globe, and we are going to show you that. Look at some of those nice Itron meters there. And we have Powell River, BC, installer damaging a home. 26 incidents in Pico's area, which is basically Pennsylvania, meters overheating. We have fires being probed from 2 fires in Coquitlam. Alberni, bad installation going on there. Of course, that's the homeowner's fault. Nanaimo. Wiring burns. Is that something similar to what those guys were saying in the court documents? Oh, look, this lucky homeowner severely damaged their house and the neighbor's house. That's a couple days after installation. Very lucky customer there. Another fire. That looks like a very nice smart meter right in the middle there. Oh, Sparwood Post Office. This was several hours after the smart meter was installed. Maybe it was the post office fault that this happened. Probably. Switching gears a little bit now to San Francisco, California. Nice fire there. Oh, we have a huge bank of smart meters spontaneously combusting. Not what you want to hear at all. And now we are going to go to Australia. We got another fire in California. We have another one in Florida during an installation. And we have Virginia, we have California. Now notice these little date stamps. This has been going on since 2010 and still continues to this day. And we have Georgia, we have New Zealand with, look at all those wires burning up in all these spots here. We have Florida again, some burned wiring, fantastic stuff. And smart meter explodes next to a gas line. Wow, obviously something that you don't want happening in your home, but this is going on. And we see a nice burned up smart meter there. And also we notice another thing, that these were the type of meters that were deemed safe. Now, if you've been paying some attention, hundreds of thousands of smart meters are being and have been recalled. And at the time, they were trying to blame it on one company. So they would say, oh, well, we're not using those meters and our meters are fine. It was just those isolated meters. Well, actually, it's not. It's all of them for the reasons we cited earlier. Here we have Houston. And we have more from Georgia. And we have Illinois causing some small fires. That's fantastic. More from Canada, 13 fires in Ontario. More burned up meters in the Chicago, Illinois area. Oh, look at that common theme coming back. Pops and a banging noise. This was blamed on the restaurant owner. Pico smart meter fire burning up the side of a house. Pennsylvania apartment fire and exploded and caught fire. But if you'll notice something here, this is something that definitely irks me and should all of you out there, particularly if you're a firefighter, because you have the issue of going to deal with these unnecessary smart meter fires, as well as the fact that they are on your home where you and your family sleep. Residents reported hearing a loud bang. Interesting. Nevada, 70 consumed meters. Plastic casing melted, and the fire chief points out a very good thing here is occupants may not even be aware that the house is on fire. So it might be actually a good thing that these pops and loud banging noises happen. Maybe that's the smart meter's way of warning people that it's burning up. Pennsylvania, a couple more fires there. Saskatchewan, here we go. 9th failure so far. And what was the issue? Oh, arcing inside the meter. This is in 2014. And that was from the utility themselves. Smart meter catches fire at a home in Regina. This is good stuff. Look at those burning embers on the ground, but more importantly, look at that location so close to the gas line, which could obviously create a huge explosion. And the other issue was the fire burned up the barbecue cover there, and of course you got propane tanks under there. But SaskPower was very nice to this client here and decided that after we had one smart meter fire, we're just going to throw in another smart meter to make sure that client feels safe and cozy in their home. So we have the other issue that was going on in Saskatchewan and all over the place is moisture getting inside the meter. So whether this is an issue with the seals or humidity or both, it doesn't matter. It's happening. And we all know, specifically at that spot on our grid, moisture and electricity do not mix. And here we see the tens and hundreds of thousands of smart meters being recalled and removed. Of course, they got to go back and damage your base some more and put on another type of smart meter with all the same issues that it has. But we can see clearly that these recalls are indeed happening. So I'm sure you have some questions in your head. One of them is probably, isn't there someone or some agency that's testing these meters? Well, yes and no. Here's a video by Itron and looking at their rigorous testing. You are always going to hear this term about rigorous testing. It's like it's repeated every single time they talk about a smart meter failure, that it was rigorously tested, so it's okay. Here it's getting a passing grade. And what is it passing? We want to make sure there's no surge arresters, so the meters blow off the side of the house. That's good. We want to make sure the remote disconnect is in there. That creates the arcing. That's also good. And the meter measures accurately, and it signals back to the utility. This is your rigorous testing. Do they test for surges? No, doesn't look like it. They're testing the remote disconnect to see if it's going to cause arcing because there could be a load in the home. No, probably not testing for that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be figuring out how all these fires are happening. So, and the Itron meters get a passing grade, and look at them there out in the field doing their thing. That's good. And there's a huge difference. There's the factory world, and then there's the real world where the rest of us live. And we have the other situation where Measurement Canada only tests under normal conditions for accuracy. So the rigorous testing inside the factory again. Now, we have a rigorous environment out there. It's called the weather, and it has extreme heat, it has extreme cold, it has lots of humidity, and if we want to make an analogy, we'll say, would you ever put your smartphone or your laptop or computer or any type of device on the side of your house and actually expose this device to that? Well, of course, you would say, no, that's a really dumb idea. But that is, in fact, exactly what we are doing, because these meters really have all the same components. Now, your iPhone's not going to have a arcing device in it, of course. It won't have a remote disconnect, or it won't have surge arresters like your smart meter either. So we have a huge problem. Now we have another problem. Our firefighters are out there, in particular in Canada. We had a gentleman named Len Garris. Now, Mr. Garris was paid a commission, a fee by BC Hydro to write a report on the safety of smart meters. And Mr. Garris, of course, came to the conclusion, despite all the stuff you've seen earlier, that smart meters actually help to prevent fires, which is a very interesting conclusion. And also, we see the situation in BC where they just don't have a code for smart meter fires. So, no code, no smart meter fires. This was sent out to all the firefighters in Canada. And in fact, I even went to my local department. They said, well, we had this report and smart meters don't cause fires, so thank you very much for your time. We'll see you later. But the other interesting thing about Mr. Garris is he has a background in criminal justice. And we might want to ask him, why is BC Hydro taking smart meters from smart meter fire crime scenes? And in fact, there's times where they even take the meter base, which is not even theirs. That is actually the homeowners. And of course, BC is not alone. This is happening in Quebec. Quebec, they're saying, guys, can you just leave the burned up meter around here so we can do our proper investigation because it's evidence of a crime scene? Same thing in California. And the utilities basically say, well, it's our meter. So a great analogy would be, somebody shoots somebody with a gun and the police show up and the guy has a gun in his hand and they want to take him away, but he says, well, this is mine, this is my property, so you can't take this as evidence. And the police say, well, fair enough. Obviously, that's ridiculous, and it's ridiculous that utilities are doing this. How can all this stuff happen? Well, the bottom line is we have a culture of corruptions, as you've seen with the fire report in BC, at our utilities, at our regulators, and our governments, from those court documents and things like that. Now, that picture was a picture of a fire that happened in San Bruno, California. And we're talking about PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric. Now, PG&E knew the whole time that that pipeline was a problem. And in fact, for weeks at a time, previous to the blast that killed, I believe, 8 people and damaged over 30 homes, they were getting calls from people. They decided they didn't want to go out because the issue would have been, if they had found a leak, they would have had to check everywhere on that pipeline. And of course, that would have just cost them a little bit too much money. And yes, that's what it was. 8 people so far that we know were killed in 2010, 38 homes destroyed, and their biggest concern was Standard & Poor's might lower their credit rating, and in fact, that is exactly what happened. And on the way out the door, just nice news for the victims, the CEO that was in charge of this whole fiasco got paid $30 million for that incident. So, some more stuff from PG&E, which is very nice. People trying to find out the truth about the smart meter fires, and of course they get this back. You can't know, it's confidential, this information is redacted. And can we just know a little bit more? Has caused a fire, gas or electric? Redacted. Can we know about the damage that it's caused? Sorry, you can't know, this is confidential, redacted. Now they definitely do know that it's causing damage, but they don't want to let anyone know. So here we have some of the top brass at PG&E, and just giving you an idea what your top brass at the utilities think about you. Now PG&E was going around after people started learning about these fires that were happening and the radio frequency issues, whatever the case may be, and taking these meters off, trying to protect themselves. So what do? They go around and cut their power because they say removing your meter or the smart meter is a fire risk. So they're getting off that device that has 4 potential sources of arcing and putting on a safe meter, and they're cutting their power and saying it's a fire risk. Now, this was a 75-year-old lady who did this, and they said, if we're up to me, I would say to her not to manipulate her age and fragility to get her way, but this is PG&E's decision. So you have total collusion between the CPUC, California Public Utility Commission, and Pacific Gas and Electric. The big issue was, of course, money, money, money. So they wanted to do a free opt-out for these people who were realizing these meters were blowing up or whatever other health issues that were a concern. And they said, you can't have a free opt-out. You have to make them pay, because if nobody had to pay, then maybe half of the people would opt out. And this would be a $7 billion complete and total waste. So is this about safety, or is this about money? Did we see the same type of a situation earlier where they just didn't want to spend the money to check their pipelines? And now there's pipelines like this all across America and Canada. And the same thing was happening in Texas. The utility guys, the technicians were saying to their higher ups, we want to allow these people to have an opt-out. Maybe they just wanted one for themselves because they knew this was happening. And respondent, of course, said no. They want the data, and they've spent billions already without telling their people, and this is what you get. Now we have the same thing. We have this is just one technician talking about 3 to 4 fires per month, which confirms what our whistleblowers have been telling us. 3 to 4 a month, and they've been going back to their higher ups or supervisors and saying, look, we're having this issue. They're going to be used, so we're going to have to work with them. They don't bring it to their higher ups. They don't push this forward so people can try and make a decision to keep people safe. They just say it's time to keep using these meters. So are we going to wait for another San Bruno? Are we going to have a little maybe mini San Bruno at your house, at your neighbor's house? We got a lot of meters close to gas lines. Doesn't even matter if they're not close to gas lines. Do you want your house burning up because of this greed, because of this incompetence, corruption, whatever it may be? You have these fundamental laws, again, as we talked about, of electricity being violated. We have 4 sources of arcing. And in BC, because I'm a little bit more partial because I live up here, we got a guy like Bill Bennett, who's the Minister of Energy, Mines, Electricity, pretty much everything in the province, and he says he's not aware of any problems with the meters. He also says, I think ratepayers are going to thank us for this. Thank you very much. We're very happy you put those meters on. Remote disconnect, thinner blades, surge arresters gone, bad installations. And the Honorable Rich Coleman, who was the minister at the time, who formerly held Mr. Bennett's position, said, well, we just think that these people need some re-education. Well, I am happy and hopeful that I have assisted in your re-education of exactly how and why smart meters cause fire, and they are a danger to your home. And these people are allowing this to happen to this day because money is their main concern, not your safety.
There's absolutely no incidents of house fires being caused by a meter.
How many smart meter fires have there been?
We've installed approximately 9 million smart meters, and we have no reports of smart meters causing fire.
Not one single report.
We don't.
Other picture, this is probably the better side of the garage. I don't know if you can see it. The meters were over here.
And so the fire department basically said that the meters started the blaze?
If you just took one look at the wreckage and said smart meters and walked away and never called back or came back.
Well, Brittany, you were saying earlier that there was no smart meter fires, and this lady right here has pictures of her smart meter that exploded on her house.
Josh, can I ask you to stop recording?
So the question becomes, over and over, we see this continuous stream of lies. We see this continuous stream of deceit. Do you believe them? Do you for 1 second believe that these 4 sources of arcing, at least at minimum, don't cause fires? Do you believe that somehow in their land of greed and corruption that the laws of electricity can be papered over with giant piles of money? Well, of course they cannot. We have a very serious issue. We do not need to wait any longer for anyone else to get hurt. It's time for solutions. Head over to Take Back Your Power. Get on that website, watch that movie, pass out this fire video to your friends so they can understand and know the truth just like you've learned now. Look for the solutions on the website. Watch the movie Take Back Your Power. You're going to see even more reasons why that they're keeping these meters on your home, the data, the radio frequency, all the other problems that are involved. It's time we stop this. Let's put an end to this. It's enough already. We need to change this. We need to go back to our analog meters and keep ourselves safe in our own homes and take these things off our homes. Stop the greed. Stop the corruption. Thank you for your time.